Prosecution tries to salvage a witness, crucial to its case.
Is your recollection perfect as to all of the things that occurred surrounding the receipt of that vial?
No.
We'll have the latest.
Plus a Dateline Healthline medical news that could improve your life. You exercise, you eat right, still you worry about a disease that strikes late in life. Tonight, the breakthrough that makes finding out your chances of getting it as easy as looking in the mirror.
Dateline with Tom Brokaw, Jane Pauley and Stone Phillips, plus Katie Couric, Bryant Gumbel, and Maria Shriver. From our studios in New York, here is Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. Post office to mail out those tax returns before Monday's deadline. Tonight, you're going to meet a man who loves filing tax returns. Lots of tax returns every year. It's a scam you won't believe. With each return, he gets a refund. Not his tax money, yours. He's gotten away with this crime for years, and unlike most of us, he doesn't even have to worry about the trip to the post office. Here's Josh Mankiewicz.
You work hard. You pay your taxes. And maybe one of these will find its way to you. A government tax refund. Now meet a man who has no real job and no real income, but he works hard at getting tax refunds, and he's very good at it. His name is Rodney Archambault. Over the last 12 years, he's been stealing your money with both hands. This man showed him how to do it.
Because all it takes is a blank form and a short pencil, and you can get a check back from IRS.
And in turn, Rodney taught this man.
It surprised me that it was that easy to do, especially to the federal government.
But Rodney didn't stop with the federal government. He also went after state tax money, and he stole plenty of that too.
It was like printing money for him for a while.
Who pays for all of this?
Taxpayers.
You and me.
You and me, and every guy on the street.
David Leonard is an investigator with the Illinois Department of Revenue. Illinois was one of the few states to catch on to what Rodney Archambault was doing. He'd fill out a tax form saying that he worked for a particular corporation or that some confederate of his worked for a particular corporation.
Yes.
And that he was owed some money.
Yes, owed a refund.
Was this money he had earned?
No. He never worked at these corporations. No, and the people he filled them out for never worked at them.
He made it all up.
He made it all up.
And they still sent the checks.
And they still sent the check.
Rodney got away with it in part because of the sheer number of tax returns involved. Just in Illinois, 5 million returns come in over a 90-day period. And there's just not time for most states to match up employers and employees before the refunds go out. And Rodney knew that.
I think he got away with millions of dollars. How many, I don't know. I don't think anyone will ever know exactly how much.
Claude Williams is an investigator with the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. He's been tracking Rodney Archambault since the mid-1980s. Actually, tracking is probably the wrong word, because Claude knows exactly where Rodney is. So does the IRS. So do at least 24 states that he's stolen from. Rodney Archambault is in prison, and he's been there for the last 12 years, ever since he was arrested on robbery, drug, and kidnapping charges and sent to a Texas jail. It seems hard to believe, but Rodney's entire scheme to file phony tax returns has been carried out from behind bars.
How is it that a guy who was under lock and key was able to commit a crime of this magnitude while he was in jail?
Well, it's a very simple crime. It's easy to do, and it's easily done through the mail. It can be entirely done through the mail.
Seriously? Through the mail, Rodney wrote to the IRS and state tax departments and received blank tax forms, wage statements known as W-2s, and preparation booklets. Using the typewriters at the prison law library, he filled them in, claiming wages he never earned and taxes he never paid. Then he mailed them out and waited for the refund checks to come back.
These are blank W-2 forms. He had them in his cell?
Yes. There's enough forms there for a small corporation.
He filled them out in jail?
Yes.
He sent them out from jail?
Yes, he did.
He got the money back in jail?
Yes.
And nobody stopped him?
And no one stopped him.
Nobody said to him, what do you need that for?
It should have set off bells and whistles in prison, and it didn't.
Prisons routinely screen all inmate mail for drugs, weapons, or escape plans, but not for tax forms. And Rodney wasn't the first inmate to figure that out.
It was raining money.
15 years ago, Paul Young discovered that bogus tax returns bring in real profits.
Money started coming in, and it looked like that there was going to be no end to it.
What was the attitude of the inmates when the checks started coming in? I mean, they must have known.
Wow.
They must have known it was illegal.
Yeah, they knew it was illegal. Of course they knew it was illegal.
And could add time to their sentences.
Right, right. But if they're already doing 99 years, what are they going to add?
In Young's case, it was another 15 years. It was Young's scheme that was passed on to Rodney Archambault. And it wasn't long before Rodney was sharing his good fortune with other inmates.
I know how to do it. He showed me how to do it.
Owen Smith met Rodney in Houston when both were small-time crooks. Soon, Rodney was showing Owen how to commit big-time fraud.
What came my way might have been up close to 100,000.
What also came his way once he got caught were 3 more years in prison. Claude Williams of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice says Owen Smith and Paul Young weren't alone. The number of inmates involved grew like a chain letter.
When I was investigating it, I had a list of over 400 people that was involved in the scheme, and the only thing that I was investigating was the Texas Department of Criminal Justice connection.
Hundreds of inmates?
Hundreds of inmates.
And they had a manual, a kind of roadmap to greater larceny. We won't read you all the steps, but they're simple enough for anyone to follow.
Step 1, ordering forms. Step 2, ordering employer identification numbers. Step 5, preparing your 1040 long form.
Step by step. Can't miss.
Check no on the presidential election campaign fund.
Check the very last entry on the last page.
That's all you need to know. Good luck in f***ing the government out of their money. Is that what he did?
That's what he did.
10 years ago, Claude Williams tried to make a federal case out of it.
What happened after you contacted the IRS?
Well, initially nothing.
This was federal tax money this guy was stealing. Why didn't they jump on this?
I think they were embarrassed by being beaten by inmates sitting in their cell using the mail to make a lot of money. There's no glory in prosecuting an inmate that's already incarcerated.
It may be that the IRS is embarrassed and doesn't want to talk about how easy it is for federal and state prisoners to get their hands on your tax money. We asked the IRS for an on-camera interview, but all we got was a letter telling us that Rodney Archambault was eventually caught, tried, and convicted. The IRS also claims they're getting better at detecting refund fraud. But in Rodney's case, they didn't lock the barn door until at least $500,000 were gone from federal and state treasuries. By 1988, when the IRS finally came after him, Rodney had been at it for 5 years. They couldn't get the money back, but they hit Rodney with a 25-year sentence. That didn't stop him. While he began his scheme in a Texas jail, he kept it up at each stop in the federal prison system. From Memphis in 1989, to Phoenix in 1990, Lompoc, California in 1991, to Leavenworth in 1993. By then, Rodney had said goodbye to federal tax fraud and moved on to state tax departments, multiplying his potential for profit. At the time, 40 states had an income tax.
The Treasury Department's not going to run out of money, but he was burning every state. He could tell you which state, how long it took them to send a refund.
To target the states, Rodney needed an organization outside of prison as well as inside. People who could open post office boxes for him, cash the refund checks, and deposit Rodney's cut in his prison bank account.
Now, I do know that he had a network of in-laws and outlaws all over the United States. States.
One of those outside contacts was Maria Garcia, the mother of an inmate Rodney met in a Texas prison. Maria joined the network of people outside of prison who had a piece of Rodney's tax scheme. With Rodney's help, Maria filed false income tax returns all over the country. Illinois sent Dave Leonard to investigate.
This is Maria Garcia, Illinois.
Yeah, she claimed, for instance, on this one, a refund of like $851.
This is Maria Garcia, Kansas. She's getting $983 from them.
Yes.
Oregon, she's getting $1,042.
Yes.
This is Maria Garcia from Hawaii, $1,494. Maria Garcia's doing pretty well.
Works in a lot of states.
Did Maria Garcia ever live in Hawaii?
No.
Did she ever live in Oregon?
No.
Kansas?
No.
New York?
No.
These are all fake. She cashed the check?
And send Rodney a share. Those are different states.
Rodney kept careful logs of which states he went after and how much was due in refunds.
Illinois' refund for that year was $838.
But the tax business became so big that Rodney Archambault and Maria Garcia had trouble remembering who they'd stolen from. They spoke mostly by phone, and federal prisons tape record those calls.
What I need to know is this. Do you remember that list I made up for you? Do you still have that with all the ones we did? And which ones do you think I can do right now on you, for example?
I remember I told you I had Kansas, West Virginia, and I think I got Delaware, I think Ohio, New York, South Carolina, Hawaii, and I got a Utah, Minnesota, Maryland, and I think I'm in Florida.
Which ones did you have problems with?
We had problems with Rhode Island.
Okay.
Even though the Bureau of Prisons monitors inmate conversations, somehow no one figured out what Rodney was doing. He filed another 5 years of phony returns from his prison cell. Although many states suspected something, only Illinois took Rodney's case to postal inspectors and then to federal prosecutors.
I was surprised at his boldness.
Assistant U.S. Attorney Byron Cudmore prosecuted Rodney Archambault and Maria Garcia in the Illinois case.
Is this guy smarter than the system?
He has learned how to manipulate the system to commit his offense. He's a career criminal. He likes being in prison. He's developed this scheme because it generates money, and money in prison, and money is power, money is sex.
Rodney didn't want to be interviewed, but told Dateline by phone that the government's tax money did make his life in prison much more comfortable, but says he doesn't like it there and wants to get out. His actions suggest otherwise. Last year, Byron Cudmore brought Rodney Archambault here to Illinois to stand trial. Rodney was in a cell at this county jail for a mere 3 months. But during that brief time, he still managed to mail out another $128,000 in phony returns.
Well, it shows he's incorrigible. He's an inmate who's developed this scheme. He knows it works. He knows how to manipulate the rules at the Bureau of Prison that are designed for fair communication between attorneys and their clients who happen to be inmates.
When prison authorities caught on to Rodney's use of the regular mail, he and his partners in crime began sending the tax materials labeled legal mail. Under prison rules, that correspondence is confidential.
Prisons can't open legal mail?
You'll have to ask the Bureau of Prisons that question.
We tried, but the Bureau of Prisons doesn't want to talk about how their own prisoners are stealing from the federal government while they're behind bars. The Bureau points out that inmates who earn money are required to file tax returns, and that all prisoners have the right to send and receive mail. But we wanted to know why no one flinched when Rodney Archambault opened what amounted to his own tax preparation business in a 10-foot cell. And how does Rodney's story end? He may be laughing all the way to the bank.
Where does the money go? I mean, if he's made millions of dollars, where's the money?
The money is used for a lot of things, and he used money to bribe guards. He used money to have narcotics brought in.
What else did he do with the money?
Well, some of it he sold it away in a Swiss bank account. We were able to track.
Where he puts money that he stole from the U.S. government while he was in jail?
My money? Yes, that's correct.
And my money?
That's correct.
Was Rodney a rich man when you met him?
No. When I met Rodney, I was living on the streets. And he was too.
Is he a rich man now?
I'd say so. If he did get out of prison, I would say he had enough money where he wouldn't have to work another day in his life.
Rodney Archambault told us he no longer files false returns. He also insists that investigators who say that he stole millions are exaggerating. But Rodney does leave behind a legacy. Because of cases like his, state prisoners in Texas are now allowed no more than one tax form. The federal prison system, however, has no rule like that, and that's where Rodney is today, in a federal penitentiary in Allenwood, Pennsylvania.
Coming up.
Sorry, Dad. Little bottom.
Can't sleep? Why take a PM with an extra medicine?